Hello, my name is Julie, and today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I got in December. I have been very good this year about not buying as many books as I have been reading off of my shelf, but I think I have come very close in the number of books I have gotten between gifts from friends and family, and then also books that I bought myself because they were on sale or whatever. So I have a ton to get through. I also have a couple of audiobooks and a couple of books that I do not have with me currently, so we'll talk about this as well. Starting off with some books that I got from friends and family, I got James by Percival Everett. This is one of the most popular literary fiction, historical fictions of the year. It was pretty high up there in the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I want to say that this won the National Book Award. I don't remember which one, but I did get this signed copy. This is about our main character, James, who you might better know as Jim from Huck Finn, who is an enslaved man who believes that he is about to be separated from his wife and daughter and is going to try to stop that from happening. As soon as I found out that this is about Jim from Huck Finn, I immediately wanted to read it. Very excited for this one. Then we have Agatha Christie's The Mysterious Affair at Styles. This is the first Hercule Poirot. I have read somewhere in the family of 6 Agatha Christie's. I wasn't reading in any sort of order. I was just picking up things I had heard of or were available at the library. So my dad and I have been reading Poirot's and talking about them together, so I decided that I'd like to try reading them, at least with a little bit of knowledge about their order. So we're going to start with her debut and her first Poirot. Poirot goes to the country estate of a wealthy benefactress and she turns up poisoned. Then we've got Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake. This is one of my most anticipated books of the year. It's getting okay reviews, but I have not disliked any Ashley Herring Blake I've read. This is a Christmas rom-com, so it will probably be saved for next year. But this is about 2 exes. One of them left the other at the altar, and they are being forced by their families to go on a bunch of different Christmassy activities together. I love this cover, and I still think I have a really good shot of loving this. Then we have a book that I have already read, and that is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Thirst. This is one of my favorite books that I read this year, and it has such lovely purple sprayed edges. I was really sad that I ended up getting the library book of this because I almost bought it because I thought it was so cute. So this is about a world in which this empire controls all of the magic. Only the emperor's sorcerers are allowed to do magic, and our main character is a librarian of their spell books. There is a rebellion that goes against the empire, city is sacked, and our main character runs away with a bunch of spell books to protect them. She is hiding out on this island she grew up on and is trying to keep a low profile so no one arrests her, but it turns out the island is actually dying because the empire is not using their magic there. I thought that this was such a great cozy fantasy while also having a little bit of a more serious undertone there. Then we have Model Home by River Solomon, who I have read all of their previous works. This is their 2024 release, and I have really gotten something out of all 3 of the books that I've read from them previously. Sorrowland is absolutely one of my favorite books, and this is about 3 siblings who have not been back to their home for a very long time. They were the only Black kids in their neighborhood, which made them feel isolated, but also there were strange things in this house, and now that their parents have suddenly died, they are returning to the house. Then we have The Final Strife by Sara El Arifi. This is a fantasy that is inspired by Ghanan mythology and Arabian mythology, and is the beginning of a trilogy that I have seen really high ratings for. And this is about 3 different women who are all in different parts of the society where the society discriminates by the color of your blood. All 3 of them are going to be involved in this combat trial thing that the Empire is putting on, and they're trying to take the Empire down. Plot-wise, sounds like pretty standard fantasy fare, but I think that this could really be a winner, and my book club is actually going to be reading this in February if you'd like to join us. Then we have We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. I love Richard Osman. I'm a big Taskmaster fan. I really like the stuff that he does on British TV, and I have really enjoyed the Thursday Murder Club series from him. I've read the first 3 books, and this is a new is it a standalone or the beginning of a series? I'm not really sure. But this is about a father and daughter pair who are going to be traveling the world trying to solve a murder, The father is retired and likes solving puzzles, good at a pub quiz, and the daughter works in private security, loves adrenaline thrill, and so they're going to be working together to solve a case. Then possibly the book I'm most excited about, that is Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong. Lovely red sprayed edges. This is a standalone fantasy from the author of Sword of Kaigen, and this is about a girl who gets accepted to a magical academy, but the people there are not very welcoming to her, and she ends up pairing up with another outsider to try to make their way or break down the school. And this is like one of the highest rated fantasy books of 2024. Really excited for this. Then we have When the World Tips Over by Jandy Nelson. I believe this is the only young adult book that I have in this video. This is a new contemporary YA from Jandy Nelson, who I've read I'll Give You the Sun. It's one of my favorite YAs. I've also read her other one, which I really disliked, but I have high hopes for this one. This is about the Fall family. Their father suddenly disappeared not that long ago, and that has really hurt them. And a new girl comes to town and is shaking up their life. It says rivalries, road trips, family curses, love stories within love stories within love stories, sorrows and joys passed from generation to generation. Sounds exactly like something I want to pick up. Speaking of families, we also have Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. This is a historical fiction that is set in the early 1900s. This is about a family from Korea who end up immigrating to Japan, and it follows several generations of the traumatic things that happened to this family, and I've heard nothing but fantastic things. It's been on my long-term TBR for years and years, and I'm finally hoping to get around to it soon. Then we have My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. This was the New York Times #1 best book of the 2000s so far, and this is a translated fiction by an incredibly popular anonymous Italian author, and it is the beginning of a 4-book series about two girls' friendship over the course of their life, starting out in 1950s in Naples. I've been really in the mood for some literary fiction recently, so I'm hoping that this is a winner. Then we have Wicked and Son of a Witch by Gregory Maguire. This is this leather-bound edition that Barnes & Noble has had for many a year. Until the movie came out, I kind of forgot how much I liked Wicked, and I've been learning more about source material, the novel, how different and darker and more political the novel is. So I am really excited to actually read the source material. And this is, of course, about the backstory to the witches in The Wizard of Oz. And the last thing I got from my family was A Pale Light in the Dark by KB Wager. This is about a crew of the ship Zuma's Ghost that have been doing this annual competition every year. Since they almost won the games last year, they have had a target on their back, and the year's games are coming up again, and they're going to have to survive. Then we have a bunch of books that I actually got myself. There was the Barnes Noble hardcover sale coming in. There was a pre-order. I found a lot of secondhand books. A couple months ago, I did a unhaul video where I got rid of a ton of books that were on my old bookshelves, and I finally ended up physically getting rid of them and giving them to my favorite used bookstore, and I traded in a bunch of those books for 4 here. 2 of them I have already read and 2 of them I have not. One of them is Transcendent Kingdom by Ya Jesse. The fact that Ya Jesse has only written 2 books kills me. But this is about our main character, Gifty, who is a PhD candidate who is studying addiction because her brother, as a teenager, actually died of an overdose. And she is having to take care of her mother, who has been very much struggling after her brother's death. This is a short one that is a really good look into family and loss. I just absolutely adore Ya Jesse's writing. And another one that I've read is Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake. As I mentioned, I've really enjoyed her stuff before. I've read all of the Bright Falls series, and I wanted to own what might be my favorite. I don't know if Astrid Parker or Iris is my favorite, but this is about Astrid Parker, who has been perfect her whole life, followed what her very demanding mother has wanted for her entire life, and she ends up breaking off her engagement to the perfect guy. She signs up for this job to remodel this old house in the area, and there is going to be like an HGTV style show that is going to be filming the makeover, and she is at odds with the contractor Jordan, who is also trying to save this house. I really enjoyed this one, especially as a queer awakening book of Astrid not realizing kind of until the events of this book that she is queer. I think that this story is something extremely relatable to a lot of people. Then I have Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. So this is a first book in a trilogy that is about Thomas Cromwell, who was an advisor in the Tudor era, and there are 3 books detailing his life. My cousin actually got me the 3rd book like earlier this year, so when I saw this at the used bookstore, I was like, I might as well start my journey so I can finish the 3rd book. This was also on the New York Times list. Tudor England is something that really fascinates me, so I think that this is something that I would really enjoy. And the last one I picked up from that bookstore was Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. I swear I've had this on my TBR for like 6 years at least. I have read In the Dream House by this author and loved it, and this is a short story collection. It says borders between psychological realism and science fiction, comedy and horror, fantasy and fabulism, 8 stories that map realities of women's lives and the violence visited upon their bodies. I think this is something that I am going to get a lot out of, especially because of how impactful her memoir was to me. Then for Black Friday, my local bookstore had an event where if you were some of the first people in line, you would get a free bag of books. And I got a couple of books from that. Some of them I have traded or will be trading out for little free library books, but these are a couple of the books that I think I'm going to end up keeping. First, we have Kennedy Ryan's Real. This is about our main character who has been like an understudy her whole life, and she is finally getting the starring role in a movie, and it is going to be a romance between her and the director of this Harlem Renaissance biopic that she is going to be starring in. I know Kennedy Ryan is a very popular romance author, so I'd be interested in giving this one a try. There was also The Naming Song by Jedediah Barry. I know this is a 2024 fantasy sci-fi release, and honestly, I can't make a lot of sense out of the synopsis. Monsters slipped from dreams to haunt the waking while ghosts wander the land in futile reveries. Only with the rise of the committees of the named, mapped ghosts, dreams, and names could the people stand against the terrors of the nameless wilds. For one unnamed courier of the Names Committee, the task of delivering new words preserves her place in the world that fears her, but after a series of monsters attacks on the named, she is forced to flee her committee. This feels like it could be a really weird one that I'm into. We'll see. Then in the bag of books that I got, there were 2 books that I had already read or read from the series and knew I didn't want to continue that I ended up trading at free little libraries, and the 2 books I got in return were Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren, which is a romance that I genuinely know nothing about, except this has been on the internet and I recognized it, so I traded it. And also The Library at Mount Char. This is a fantasy horror about a magical dark library, and our main characters have been brought up in this library believing that the man who raised them, their father, was a god. They're finding out the secrets of the library. Seems weird, seems up my alley. I've had it on my radar for a while, so. Then we have the new books that I bought myself. First up, of course, we have Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 5th book in the Stormlight Archives and the finale to this arc of the series. Stormlight Archives is one of my favorite series, and I cannot wait to conclude this. Stormlight Archives is a giant epic fantasy that is about this planet where storms are constantly raging and changing the planet. Then I have a couple books that I got from the Barnes & Noble hardcover sale. One of these is Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. This is a literary fiction about our main character who is a poet and an addict, and he is trying to come to terms with the different things that have happened in his family, like his mom being shot down over the Persian Gulf and his uncle's involvement in the Iranian War. And Cyrus is guided on his journey by the voices of artists, poets, and kings, and delivered in the novel's unforgettable final pages to a world of what teems with unforeseen wonders. This was John Green's favorite fiction book of 2024, so I was really interested in it. And me and my friend both ended up picking a copy, and we are planning on buddy reading this sometime in 2025. I also picked up The Reformatory by Tanana Reeve Dew. This is a historical fiction horror that is inspired by the Dozier School, which is a real-life reform school for boys in Florida in the 1950s. This touched the author's family, and she is writing fiction about it. This has some fantastic high ratings, and a lot of what the horror of this book is the real-life situation that these children were put into. So I don't know when I'm going to get around to this, but I know it's going to be a really good one. I also got All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker, which this is set in 1975, and a bunch of girls are going missing from this town. I have heard that this is a literary mystery that has like a lot of different vibes going for it. It says a missing person mystery, a serial killer thriller, a love story, and a unique twist on each. and I just have heard a bunch of different types of readers really vibe with this one, so I think this is going to be for me. And I also picked up Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. I have been meaning to read this for probably 10 years now, and I saw this beautiful, beautiful cover, so I thought today was the day to get it. And this is about two different magicians in 1806 who are trying to one up each other. And I've heard that this is written as if it was written in the 1800s, which is something that I think I'll really vibe with. These are all of the audiobooks that I have also hauled. I have reviewed all of these in my wrap-ups already, so if you'd like to see me talk more about those, you can check out my November and December wrap-ups. And those are all of the books that I had to talk about today. I would love to know what books you acquired over the holiday season. If you'd like to see more videos from me, you can hit that subscribe button, and if you would like to find me anywhere else on the internet, you can find me at that link in the description, and as always, I will see you in the next one.